September 28, 2016, Kendrick Lamar sat down with the legend Rick Rubin to have a discussion about life, history, and hip-hop. In this conversation, a vast amount of topics were spoken upon, but the main one I want to highlight is Kendrick Lamar's process when creating a record. With albums in his catalog like Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, and the infamous To Pimp a Butterfly, a lot of people wonder how someone can imagine, orchestrate, and articulate the amount of complexity released in these albums. Well, thanks to this interview, we're going to sit down and break down and hopefully gain coherence into the mind of Mr. Kung Fu Kenny himself, Kendrick Lamar, starting with the first part of the process.
A lot of my inspiration comes from meeting people or going outside of the country or going around the corner to my old neighborhood, talking to a 5-year-old little boy. And I have to remember these things. You know, I have to write them down, and then 5 or 3 months later, I have to find that same emotion that I felt when I was inspired by it.
As we all know, music comes from what we see and go through in our lives. Without the different situations we're put in, there would be no music, no lesson or memories to draw from. The moment humanity ceases to exist in music is the moment music becomes stale. So its first step is not only experiencing life, but writing certain events down in order to draw from that same emotion that he felt at that first encounter. Without these experiences, most artists begin to lose all relatability and purpose. To quote Eminem, as you get older, it becomes easier to rhyme, but harder to rap, which is something I think Kendrick understands due to him releasing albums and music as sparingly as he does. Bar quality is important, but for an album to be a classic, subject matter should always be the main focal point.
My process, it starts from just a whole bunch of premeditated thoughts. The process of me thinking about the ideas and what I want to say next.
Yeah.
You know, and by the time I get into the studio, I have to find that exact sound that triggered the emotion or the idea that I thought about 2 months ago.
So you had your life experiences journaled down and ready to go. But what next? Well, Kendrick seems to put it as having premeditated thoughts that need to be triggered by a certain sound. When that sound is found and the emotion from that memory returns, then you're able to finally begin writing out your thoughts. Beat selection is a big factor in how you and the listener will respond to what you're saying. So this part in the process is critical if you want to convey your message in the right way. Having a clear direction where you want to take the record is key in creating a track that will connect with audiences. If you go into a recording and writing session without direction, then the song/album itself will also be lost in the sauce.
Yeah, it's really about me challenging myself. I think my excitement in doing music is me feeling like I'm never stagnant, me feeling like I didn't get comfortable in you know, my own skin of what I think is good or what someone else thinks is good. You know, stepping outside of my comfort zone and mastering it.
This is my personal favorite part of the interview because I feel most artists need to hear this, even myself. Kendrick states that he's his own worst critic, always on himself to make sure he's never stagnant or getting caught up in what he thinks is good or what other people think is good. And most importantly, stepping out of his comfort zone to master a new aspect of music. From my perspective, I try to think back to when I first began making music. It was absolute utter trash. Bars were trash, production was garbage, and the engineering was straight dog water. However, for years I had my head in the sand, thinking I was ill, which in return kept my growth stagnant. It wasn't until I was able to be honest with myself about my music is when I started to improve and grow into the artist that I am today. Again, every artist needs to hear this because that mindset is what made Kendrick into the juggernaut that he is today.
I think I put enough hours and work to be able to pen a 100-bar verse on the spot at any given moment. Yeah. But for me to actually feel an idea and a concept, it has to come from me.
Now at this point in the interview, he was asked if he needs inspiration to write or can he write at any given moment, and K-Dot gave an interesting response. He says, at this point, he's 100% able to pen 100 bars at any given moment, but only wants to create anything when he's truly inspired or has emotional investment in a topic. A lot of chatter from people pushing for a new release could push an artist to put out something that's not in line with the character that fans have come to know. So it's more counterproductive than anything to let the noise force you into releasing music. This can be easier said than done depending on where you're at in your career. If you're unsigned without clout, then the pressure to release music is at an all-time low, which makes your hunger grow. However, an artist at his or her peak in the industry with deals, millions of dollars, record label execs, and their crew on their back along with the constant media pressure, then that fire for the music can die, causing that artist's quality of output to be put into jeopardy.
And this is the challenge for me, being able to talk about anything and make it connect, you know, to a listener, where the listener can either feel like you or feel like they understand you, or you have just a deeper connection through the music with the listener.
Now, as an artist, you can go either way. You can focus on flow, engineering, and beat selection and not really care too much about lyrics or where they go. Or you can do what artists like Kendrick do and just make every single line a cohesive unit. Coming off the inspiration question, he goes into how he's able to rap about anything, but it's important for him to make the dots connect. Switching subjects in the middle of a verse is a quick way to lose a listener's ear and force them into losing interest in your overall topic, especially with hip-hop purists who hold bars and subject matter at the highest of importance. So making everything connect from the intro to the last line is needed in order to create a coherent record.
I just have to be involved, man. It's a freaky nature sometimes, but I have to be there from everything, you know, from the snare to the hi-hat. So if we got to gain up this 2 more dBs, we got to snatch this out and let this part of the section breathe, you know, I'm there.
Now, this is something I had to learn myself, but it's not just writing a 16-bar verse, spitting it on the mic, and then releasing it on Facebook. Kendrick points out that he is literally involved with everything in his music, from breaking down the instrumental, writing the lyrics, recording the vocals, and engineering them. The only way to truly get the sound that you want is to put the same amount of care into the quality of the sound as much as you do your own lyrics. And all that takes place before marketing even begins. Marketing your music and videos is key in how well your content will be received, especially in today's hip-hop landscape where the craft is flooded with new artists daily, and the only way to stand out is outlandish behavior. And a little bonus here, never regret your bars. Kendrick makes a good point that when he says something on a song, even if it may be controversial, he has to say it because it came from a source of inspiration and it will never be subject to retraction no matter the backlash. So take pride in your bars and never back down from the words you speak. Well, thank you for coming along with me as we learn from Kendrick Lamar's writing process. I learned a lot from it myself, and I'm going to take as much information as I can from it, and I hope you do too. But until next time, my friends, stay safe and stay creative.